A mixed-race adoptee relates to Eastenders' George Knight's story of discovery. Raised in a loving UK home, he explores his heritage, connecting with distant relatives via DNA testing. Despite initial excitement, complexities arise, leading to emotional reunions and reflections on identity. Meanwhile, Yolande faces danger from Pastor Clayton in Eastenders, while speculation swirls about a potential romance between Bobby Brazier and Jazzy Phoenix. Though there isn't any murder in my adoption tale, I can identify with George Knight from Eastenders. DNA findings, lying, and a homicide trial. The most compelling Eastenders plot this year centers on George Knight's learning about his origins and adoption process. Even if my story isn't as dramatic, George's experience has had a profound impact on me. Like George, I am a mixed-race adoptive from another nation, and this has also caused me to wonder who I am. Originally from Dallas, Texas, I moved to the UK when I was 33 years old. I was born in 1990. A year later, English couple Jenny and John adopted me. My adopted parents raised me in a kind and encouraging environment, and they never expressed concern about my ethnicity. Jenny and John had started talking to me about my origins when I was quite small, after they had flown me back to England from the States. They also made a lovely booklet with illustrations and pictures that detailed my journey. I may also view my adoption file. There weren't any traumatic incidents or interactions like to what George Knight experienced with Gloria and Eddie, his adoptive parents. However, I also began to become inquisitive about my ancestry, race, and biological family. I was a teenager when this first happened. I wanted to stare into the eyes of relatives who somewhat resembled me, even though I felt at ease. Maybe they were like myself, with somewhat darker skin tones and curling hair. Then, when I was 26 years old in 2017, I discovered a DNA test that estimated my ethnicity and found that I was 54% European and 44% African. Understanding the general regions of the world from which my ethnicity originated gave me a sense of completion. For me, this provided a fundamental solution. Other than that, life went on, and I never gave it any more thought. It took a year for the topic of my birth family to come up again. On New Year's Eve, while spending time in Berlin with my spouse, I got a message on the DNA test portal from a man named Spencer who lives in Virginia, USA. We found out after a lot of back and forth that we were distant relatives. After I told Spencer my tale, he assisted me in finding both my biological mother and my paternal ancestors. Everything was extremely taxing on the emotions. I was raised as an only kid, then all of a sudden I learned that I had 2 half-sisters and a half-brother. Finding and meeting one's birth family is a sensitive subject that is often associated with feelings of guilt and confusion for adoptees. I struggled to answer things like, am I betraying my adoptive parents? Additionally, will I learn something shocking that I'd rather not know? However, having a video chat with my half-siblings and witnessing our physical similarities, from our comparable skin tones to the curliness of our hair to the shapes of our faces, were both incredible. My adopted parents looked even more excited than I was to meet my American birth family, who were eager to see me as well. From the first minute Spencer had gotten in touch with me, they had been excited for me and had embraced the notion of my meeting my family. Ultimately, I scheduled travel for the spring of 2020, however, everything was regrettably delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The excitement of discovery subsided somewhat during that time. A portion of the suppressed trauma related to my origins surfaced. It was difficult at times to emotionally connect with my birth father, and my relationship with my birth mother ended. With the exception of Wendy, my aunt, who is the sister of my biological father, I have had less contact with my birth family over the years. I hope Wendy or any other adoptee in the world finds a caring and supporting individual like her. In October 2023, she facilitated my meeting with both sides of my family in the USA and persuaded me to reconnect with my roots. The most emotional moment of my life, other than my wedding day, was meeting my birth father, my aunts, uncles, and paternal grandmother and grandfather. It was a lovely moment when my grandparents picked me up at work to surprise my brother, who works as a salesman like me. And the day I felt really linked to my wider identity was the 33rd birthday party they arranged for me. With my half-siblings and other birth relatives all about me, there was no black, no white, and no mixed-race person. Just the family. I still cherish this to this day. A narrative like George Knight's, which addresses the frequently difficult topic of mixed adoption, is welcome. It is my desire that those who are considering adoption, as well as the general public, will realize that adoption is not a taboo term or something that should be kept a secret. The ideal course of action is my adopted parents' transparency, as opposed to Eddie and Gloria. Whenever feasible, I think it's essential for a child to grow up well to normalize adoption by educating them about it from a young age. Understanding that I am a mixed-race American with British and African ancestry has helped me accept who I am and, most importantly, begin to make sense of my larger identity. I value every aspect of my identity, whether it is by collaborating with my paternal grandma on family history, conversing with my half-siblings, or receiving encouragement from my adoptive parents. And I am aware of my connection. And cherished. Not at all, Clay. In Eastenders, Yolande Trueman discovers something horrifying that puts her in risk from Pastor Clayton. Following a terrifying discovery on Eastenders, Yolande Trueman discovers that Pastor Clayton is putting her in risk. For weeks now, viewers of Eastenders have harbored suspicions that there could be more to the pastor than first meets the eye. Their worries are fulfilled in later scenes when Pastor Clayton gets unduly close to Yolande. Yolande and Denzel keep bumping heads until Agatha at the community center upsets her even more. Back at number 20, Pastor Clayton gives counsel before Denzel surprises her with a video chat from Patrick. Later on, Yolande is overjoyed to make apologies with Agatha and presents Pastor Clayton with a well-received food truck concept. However, the pleasure is fleeting as Yolande is paralyzed with terror by Pastor Clayton's excessively tactile hug. Yolande is shaken by her interaction with Pastor Clayton later in the week and contemplates ignoring it until he puts an unwanted touch on her leg during their meeting. When Yolande confronts Pastor Clayton about his actions, he tries to put her under pressure by canceling their food truck plans. Following that, Yolande and Denzel have a heart-to-heart conversation during which he tries to convince her to stick with her intentions. However, Yolande gets outraged in another scene when Pastor Clayton gives his wife Stella control of their charitable endeavor. When Yolande confronts him, accusing him of punishing her for raising her voice, he deceives her by saying he is uncomfortable being alone himself. How is Yolande going to respond? To what extent will Pastor Clayton go in order to control the situation? New love awakening? Eastenders stars Bobby Brazier and his new girlfriend confirm their romance after exchanging identical romantic posts. Is this proof that the new relationship is real? The cast of Eastenders, Jazzy Phoenix, has been hinting at her new relationship with Bobby Brazier. A recent photo appears to support this theory. Jazzy shared a picture of a bunch of flowers on her Instagram stories that has since been removed. The bouquet was almost exactly the same as one Bobby had shared earlier in the day. Only a few hours after Bobby had published a photo of a dozen of pink flowers on Instagram stories, the actress, who plays sex worker Nadine in the BBC serial Opera, posted the picture to her Insta stories on Saturday night. Additionally, the two bouquets appeared to be wrapped in the same smooth, creamy white paper. To the fleeting post, Jazzy also included a single white heart and a joyful face covered in love hearts as emojis. The couple enjoyed a romantic dinner date together on Friday night, according to information published in The Sun on Sunday. Following his breakup with Strictly co-star Ellie Leach, the attractive Eastenders and Strictly star was spotted flirting beneath Jazzy's Instagram pictures, according to a recent report by The Sun Online. According to a source, Bobby is having fun getting to know Jazzy. He finds it endearing because they both have a love for performing, and he naturally finds her to be quite attractive. She is honored by his interest, especially since she will soon be playing a different role on Eastenders. It's the perfect time. He treats her with such grace and decency. Ellie and I don't have any bad feelings. Their brief romantic relationship simply ended. Please subscribe our channel.